Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. The NTSB has released some drone footage and some other video of the crash site in the Pennsylvania crash that killed everybody on board a medical flight. A girl from Mexico was having cancer treatment, saving her life, and then only to be killed in a plane crash on the way home. And it killed everybody on board the plane, and I think an individual on the ground, and there's still some people in critical condition. I'm not sure if that count has gone up. But let's take a look at this drone footage. Now, interesting, right at the top, just so I finally found footage of it, there's a restaurant over here, and there's footage of an individual out there. I put a video out earlier, but hardly anybody watched it, so I took it down. Maybe I'll upload it again at a different time at a certain point. But there's an individual in a drive-through over here, and you can definitely see, you know, these structures. And I think they were over in this area, and then they recorded the plane crash coming in, like an actual, you know, the fireball coming up. And there appears to be different locations where large objects hit. You see right over here, and then there's a spot right there. It looks like the investigators are digging with a crane, maybe. I don't know if that's what created this crater or if that was actually the plane that made it itself, because there is a crane over there. I'm not sure if they dug in there to look for things, and it just looks bigger than it would have, although it wouldn't shock me at all if there was a hole in the ground that was pretty large. So right there on the right side of your screen, there's the famous Dunkin' Donuts. And this is a bunch of the investigators, FAA, and the Department of Transportation head that newly got the job. Was just newly sworn in the day of this accident, or I think he was sworn in the day of the DC accident. They're starting to blend together, and but you really just get sort of a sense of, you know, how much destruction there was on the ground by looking at this. And you can see just little piles of debris from the fire, likely, you know, some from the plane, some from vehicles, etc. But it really spread out quite a ways, blocks even. But eventually they found the black box, I think, yesterday. And Duffy is the transportation guy. He's walking right here. He runs the show. I mean, what a brutal start for him. You know, first day in, you got the DC crash, and then 2 days later, you have the Pennsylvania crash. Two high-profile crashes that happened. See, there's this huge hole over here, and I don't know if that was... I think this might be after the crane moved some parts around, because there's other footage we'll see later that actually shows a lot of this cement still in the ground. So they must be digging into the crater to see if they can find more parts from the plane. And yes, you can see that they've bagged stuff up. Okay, so that makes sense now. All of these slabs here, in another video we'll see in a little bit, are right around in this area. They actually just removed the cement off the ground. And I can just kind of move it forward a little bit here. Starting to walk over. Now he's looking into the site. I actually think this probably is the impact site, because they're spending a lot of time looking at it and talking about it, and they're digging in there trying to find any parts of the plane. So it looks like that probably is what they're looking at, is the crater, the impact location. However, they've removed some of that sidewalk that you see there. You can even see on the edges how it looks like they just broke it away. And the original shot, though, doesn't look way different than that. It's still deep, but then you see the bricks or the cement slabs still intact, just kind of lifted up slightly. So makes you wonder if that's what it originally looked like, and then they came in with the crane and removed chunks of it. That's the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, I think is his name. And she's talking to an FAA, and he's talking to an FAA individual there, and I think they're going to take off on their own and start talking about, other elements here in a minute. The camera follows them. But you can see Duffy's just trying to get the lay of the land, figure out exactly what happened, have them explain it to him. And I guess they'll go from there. It's going to be a pretty big cleanup operation. A lot of construction. There's some homes that have been damaged. So there goes Shapiro walking with the FAA person. And I'm not really, we don't know what they're saying or anything like that, but they stop at some of these piles. I'm wondering if that material there is the fiber that makes up the hull of the airplane. And after it burns, maybe it looks like that. I'm just guessing. But I would imagine most of this debris here is part of the plane. I think they're trying to organize it and put it all together. I don't think any of this stuff is automobile parts. And so somehow, right there she's explaining to him. He's doing something with his hand. I don't know what he's referring to. We're just looking at this drone, or it's actually a helicopter footage. If I turn up the audio, you would hear that nauseating sound of just the rotors spinning. I guess I'll just do it. Here's what it sounds like. So maybe some of you would rather listen to that than to me ramble on, but I think it's important to put out this video. It actually shows you it's really close to where I had originally put it, right next to the Dunkin' Donuts, and it all makes sense. I guess we'll still have to figure out why the plane did what it did. Alright, so this video is about to end here in a minute. Not much more to it. There's been a lot of construction at this mall in the last year and a half, so it looks way different. So if you're trying to use Street View to try to analyze where things are, it's sort of difficult because almost everything's different. The signs, there's extra restaurants in the parking lot, etc. All right, let's take a look at the other video right now. February 2nd, NTSB B-roll of investigators searching the January 31st Learjet 55 crash site debris field for airplane wreckage. And see how that's totally different? I think that's exactly what it looked like when it hit the ground. And they're just looking for parts, and they're going to get a crane in there and then sift through to see if they can find other parts. But this is before the last video that we just saw. And you can see that a lot of the cement is still in place. It's just kind of warped, and then eventually they move it out. Like the cement that he's standing on, that's been removed by a crane, and they're digging through that hole to get more debris from the plane and piece together what exactly happened. And here is a drone that they put up in the air flying over Philly gas. And it's interesting that they're going over in that direction because the wreck is actually behind them given that location. So maybe they're just filming the entire area. Here's a shot right here. It's pretty interesting. You can see right where the plane hit in the main driveway. And then boom, all the fireball, different cars. When the drone goes down the street here, you'll see that there's multiple other vehicles that are absolutely burned and destroyed. I hadn't realized that the plane actually hit right there in the driveway of the shopping mall. And then see that right across the street, and there's that van again. That's where that house was on fire, right next to that van. If you were fortunate enough to watch the video that I put out earlier, it's a video where I'm trying to piece together where all the different videos that people shot was taken. But as soon as it was out there, it just collapsed where it wasn't even being watched, like 0 views in a 5-minute period. And that's when you know a video isn't going to make it. So I might try to post it again at a different time. I don't know. I think it's interesting. Maybe other people can help find some of the locations. All right, but look at all that debris and everything that is on the streets. But again, just a tragic accident, it sounds like. Perhaps the pilot was confused with the low clouds and maybe did something wrong with his controls and it crashed, or there's a mechanical error, but that is all going to be discovered by recreating what happened and looking at the black box, etc. Okay? All right, let's take a look at this from the air, you guys. So here's the Dunkin' Donuts. And it appears that the plane crashed right here. Right in this spot. So the plane hits right here, and that is where the, if you look right across the street, amazingly there's this little van parked there, but that isn't really the same white van, I don't believe. But there's video of a woman yelling out here, and there's a fire on the side of this building, and that makes sense given the trajectory of the plane hitting right there. So it would have smashed right in the ground there, creating that hole in the ground, like a crater. So, when you look at that other drone footage, there's a new, inside of this parking lot here, there's an actual, couple more restaurants. And that's what makes it confusing when you can't see it. You can't even see it on any of the, if you look at the new satellite imagery, it looks like they're doing some construction on it right there. But yeah, look at this whole area is, all of the cement's been removed and they're building things there. And they're probably still building because I see that there's still some bare land in some of the footage that was taken that night when the plane crashed. So yeah, it's totally different, but this is where it crashed right here. Let's see if we can make out of using that. Yeah, so it's still there, that same street, and it would have just crashed right there. And then there's parts, further down. So I'm going to have to move this. Looks like the plane actually went in right here. And that's where the first impact was, I would imagine. Yeah, and see right there, there's a new restaurant. And there's the van. There's the building that caught on fire. And then there's different parts. The explosion was so big it burned all these vehicles. So when it goes further down, you can see, look at this. That vehicle completely burned out. Hopefully they got out safely. There's another one there. These two here, not quite sure if that looks like more like a police car, maybe. It's hard to tell. But yeah, absolutely crazy, you guys. So anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching the video. If you could hit that like button for me, I would appreciate it. Share the video and subscribe. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.